Welcome back to another episode of Flying Sparks Garage. And in this episode, we are not going to be in the garage. We're going to be working on our boat. We have a big family camping trip coming up, and we're prepping our boat to be used and loved and make memories for our family. So we're excited about that. But first, we've got a handful of things to check off the list on her.
That's right. In the last episode, you saw that we did a bunch of work on the OBS also for this trip. And over the next week, we're just going to do everything that we need to do to get the rigs ready to go and drop episodes as we get them done. So today we're going to start with the boat trailer. The old wood's rotten, the carpet's coming off of it. We're going to put new wood on it, pack the wheel bearings, put new tires on it. We've got cruise control for this boat so that when we get out there and start skiing, the boat does the work for us. Get a new speedometer because ours is broken. We got a lot of fun stuff going on. But right now, it's not quite 100 degrees outside, so I say we get busy.
Let's do it. Dang, had a tomato, huh?
Yeah, I was hiding in there. Nice.
Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is walk over to our boat trailer and figure out the wood situation.
Yes, these tires are in pretty good shape, but you can see right here, they were built 12th week of 2017. So that's an old tire, too old for me to want to take a long distance. I don't see any cracking, and obviously they're not worn out because this trailer doesn't go very far. But check this tire out. We have a problem over here. The inside of that tire is worn out, and that tire is the exact same age and same miles. So something's going on with this axle. I don't know if she's bent. I'm thinking maybe a wheel bearing's bad or something. So we're gonna take the wheel bearings out, pack everything, check. If anything's worn out, we'll replace it and get some new tires.
That guy needs to be gone.
Yep.
Dr. Dan, one of our good friends and viewers and car buddies, saw our trailer in disrepair, and he sent us a bunch of trailer repair goodies. So we're going to be utilizing those, Dr. Dan.
Yoodly, yoodly, yoodly.
Yoodly.
So I got some bolts, new bolts for the boards, nuts, washers, all that stuff. Now we're gonna pick up 2 2x4s, 2 2x6s, pressure treated, and try to fit them in the Bronco. They're 8 foot long. The bed shows to be 5 feet, so this will be interesting.
Protecting the back of the seat. That's awesome.
Works for me.
Resting on the soft top rails. Pretty good. Ooh, these aren't long enough, bro.
What in the world? How long is it? 8 1/4. What is our 8 feet 2 inches? What?
What in the ever-loving? Do they sell them in 9 foot or 10 foot?
10 foot's your next step up, or maybe even 12. Yeah, so I gotta get a big board and cut 2 inches off of it. Well, that'll piss you off.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. I threw a tape on it and it got to 8, and I was like, it's 8 footer. I wasn't like looking at precise measurements, I was just like, that's a full 8.
Yeah, you would.
You'd think they'd design it towards a full 8 foot, but they did not, and we're not redoing it, so we're going to get 2 more boards. But we can get these done.
All right, well.
I guess grab that other 2x6 and we'll
put
at least get
side.
these 2 cuts made.
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's where we cut it.
You want to do this one?
I'm gonna put a bolt in it each time I do it. That way I make sure I don't mess up.
Yeah, I like that.
I guess I got the wrong bolts too. How'd I do that? They were in long.
Mislabeled probably.
5/16. I ended up a 1/4 inch. So we gotta go get some bolts. Okay, back to the store. Best laid plans. Dang it.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Yep.
All right, now we have the right nuts for our bolts. And we have new wood, longer wood.
Yep, so see here, I tightened these down and they're below the surface. So we've got that provision there. So we'll wrap on top of it, get it laid out where we want it, and then we'll loosen these up and fold it over and then staple it on the bottom. I think that's the best plan.
Good job, dude.
Thank you.
I got 2 pieces of carpet cut, and we need more carpet, so we're gonna have to run out again. I'm allergic to having to go back to the store 16 times. Oh my gosh. Alrighty, y'all. Bolts are tight. Tighten down snug where they're flush, or actually recessed. Now, it's time to put some staples in the carpet of those 2x6s.
You start working on this carpet, trying to get it down. I'm gonna take that wheel bearing apart and see what's wrong with it.
Okay.
Because we gotta go get new carpet for this. But might as well get bearings while I'm out.
Okay.
I don't think we have bad bearings. Emily and I both just looked at it, and if you look directly down from the top, I think this axle is bent backwards a little bit right in this area. It looks like this sweeps back a tiny bit. And that would definitely explain the fact the tire's wearing out and the hub's not loose. It feels really nice to me. The bearing's making some noise, but it spins really good. So we're gonna take it apart and look at it, but I think we're just going to be wearing tires out. Those we bought 7 years ago, and now that we have the lake house, we're not going to be trailering much anyway, so I don't see any reason to replace the axle. Put some new tires on it, maybe rotate them next time occasionally, and just rock and roll. Sounds good to me. That race has got quite a bit of wear on it. You can see that lip at the back of it, right there.
Pretty polished.
Yeah, that lip shouldn't be there. That should be smooth. So that is worn down for sure. We know the seal's bad because it's been leaking. All right, we're gonna knock these races out of here. Put new ones in. We'll pick this little package up. It's got the seal, 2 bearings, 2 races, and then put this thing back together and just live with the fact that axle's bent. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for what we need it for. I got that old race out and compared it. I used my bike to compare it to the new one, and the new one's just a tad bit bigger, so if I try to press it in there, it's going to create problems. So I looked the other one over really good, cleaned it up, and it actually doesn't have any wear marks on it. It was just visual. There's no difference in the race itself. So I'm going to put it back the way it was. I'm going to use the new bearing, I'm about to pack it, and put it in there, put the new seal in, and then we'll get this thing thrown back together. New bearing going in. That's good. Let me show you on this front bearing what I do when I pack them. Obviously at the shop I've got this tool that presses it in here, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing and dragging down, and you see all that oil squeezing up in between there? That's what I'm looking for. If you do it right, it'll squeeze it up out of this area, and that's what we mean by packing bearings. See how it's curling up over that edge? That means it's all the way in there in those roller bearings. That's it. It's all the way up in there. Perfect.
What's this beast beside you, Aaron?
I don't know. Cheetah. I tamed a cheetah.
Tamed a cheetah?
So it looks to me like those seals are the same. We'll double check here. Yep. That will work. So, before everybody gets on to me for hammering on hardened steel, that was very gently tapping. If you're doing this in your own shop and you don't know any better, do not hammer hard on this stuff because it will chip off and shoot like a bullet into you. Take your eyeball out. We don't need that. So there's our new race for the front. Oh, and you should be using a brass hammer for this, but I don't have one, so we're not.
This is one of the kittens from our shop.
So that new race is in the front. There's a lot of controversy over how to pack a wheel bearing, and I don't really know where I stand on it. Some people say you need just enough grease to keep the bearing greased. If you put too much, then it creates a problem, it creates friction, and it can actually cause it to overheat if the thing's totally full of grease. I don't really believe that because I run Bearing Buddies, and every summer I just pump a bunch into it. So you guys just do whatever you think is going to work. I feel like if you're going to do the job, do it every 2 or 3 years, and you're not going to have any problems. It's really hard to get wrong. As long as there's fresh grease in it, and you're keeping an eye on your bearings, you'll be okay.
Spindle looks nice.
Trying to do things left-handed is not my best. So the way I do this is I get this good and tight, almost where it will lock the hub up, just to make sure those races are seated. And then I'll back it off some. See, that's very tight. You don't want to run it like that. That's feeling better. You guys know this from watching us. We're not a how-to. We are a, this is how we did it. So take anything I say with a grain of salt. But I will tell you, this has been working for years for me.
Cotter pin going in.
Yeah. Seems kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of angled to the... It's like offset.
That's very strange to me. But we'll go with it.
That's the way it is.
When I mention Bearing Buddies, this is what I'm talking about. And I don't know really if these are necessary, but I do know that if any water gets in there, you can put grease in it and it'll push that water out. So on my boats, I always run these.
Nicely done, Aaron.
Back with the living.
Heck yeah.
It can be rolled. Now it's your turn to work.
Yay!
You guys hurt. Because we're not going to tow this boat down there, Emily's cousin is, I thought it was important to put a spare tire on here. Normally we just throw this in the back of the truck and don't worry about it. So we went to Tractor Supply and we got this. And Emily, was it like 60 bucks?
Yeah.
So we're going to throw this on the front. And it's going to go right about here, I believe. It's a pretty cool design. It just sandwiches the frame. I got it upside down. it's going to go like that.
And because we have it, we won't need it.
That's exactly right. We always take this trip and there's 4 or 5 trailers that go with us. It's usually about 100 degrees outside, so I-20 almost always gets some of our tires.
But this is comforting.
Yeah.
New spare tire in case she needs it.
There it is.
Our second round of carpet came in this giant roll, so I have to cut this down. It's a little more low profile carpet than our other, but who cares? So I'm gonna get to cutting and getting these other 2 boards covered. I'm calling that good. Carpet on the boards. Check.
And I got the spare tire done. It's on there. It's all tight. I like that little bracket. We're a little bit concerned that the bow of the boat is going to hit that, so we'll see when we get down to the boat ramp. But I think it's ready to pull her out of the water and start working on the actual boat.
And just like that, we're in our boat.
That's right, it's on the trailer now. I think now that the trailer is in ship shape, we have to start working on the boat to get it ready. This speedometer is not working, so we have a cruise control system that's going to show up the speed. It's also going to allow us to set a pass for an individual. So if you're wakeboarding and you run at 12 or 14 miles per hour or whatever it is, we can set that in and the boat will maintain that while we're towing them. So we'll get that hooked up. The front light is taking some damage. It's busted. The rear light is busted. So we got new ones of those. We're going to replace those and then just kind of get it ready to go. This last weekend, her cousin was borrowing it and the oil pressure gauge started acting up. And so I think the cinder is bad. I bought a new one of those, so we're going to throw that in. And then the boat's ready to go and we can move on to working on the truck and then the kids' truck. Get ready for this trip because it's coming up very fast. This is Tuesday and we leave on Sunday. So let's get busy. Or are we going to go take a nap?
No, we're gonna definitely work on the boat.
Okay, so we're gonna get busy. This is our rear light. It is supposed to be like that. You can see the bottom piece fell off and it had fallen down in there. It's really difficult to get out because there's no way to get on the back side of this. So Emily got me this coat hanger and I just fished down in there until I got it out. I got online and I found the factory. This is made by Perco. It's the type switch that went on it. So, 45 bucks later, we have a new one. We're going to put some butt connectors and some shrink wrap on there, or whatever you call it, heat shrink, and get this wired back in so we'll have a rear light. She's all heat shrinked up. We're going to put the screws back in it. Put a light in there and see if it works.
Yay! It came on. Woohoo! We're legal again.
Yay!
Good job.
Now we'll go do the front one. And we can do a oil pressure cylinder. And then start putting fun stuff on. There we go. We're not going to do any rewiring because we just want to get rid of that broken glass. Luckily, I got the exact same one.
Looks pretty.
Yeah. Remove before use. Alright.
Checking it off the list. Oil pressure cylinder going in.
Right here. That's the one. It's on a T. So be sure and put a wrench here when you're taking that off, or it'll break off in the block. You don't want that to happen. So yeah, I gotta get an easy out, get that out of the block, and then go get me a T. Oh well.
All right, we just got back from the store, and Aaron is working on making all these little fittings that we bought work. And I could tell you about this little creature. As y'all know, at our shop, we had a mama cat who had kittens. Well, we were working on getting all of them fixed because most of them were girls, all but one. One of them got pregnant. So we have 5 cats at the shop that aren't really people cats. They just get fed and then run away. So when this one was born, I said, let's bring it to the house and make it be friendly. And that way we can find it a home. So it's interested in Detroit steel 20-inch wheels. So I think that it's into cool stuff if anybody needs a kitten. It's friendly now. Right? My uncle loves cats, so he may take it, Uncle Wayne. But, yeah, silly. Okay, Aaron, what's the scoop, bud?
Here's my contraption. This is what I broke off right here. This little pipe going in there. So I replaced it with this T. We have our gauge sensor here, which I have a new one that you saw. This sensor is for the ECM to tell it what to do. And I decided to go ahead and, instead of just putting this straight in here, I put another T on it so we can put a mechanical gauge. If we're still getting a weird reading on the dash when we're out in the lake, I can just throw a gauge on it and we know exactly what's happening. Oh, we know if it's a gauge in the boat or if we're actually losing oil pressure. So that's kind of that addition. That T is just so that I can check it in the future and make sure everything's kosher. Yeah, it's a lot of junk, but it saves me a lot of stress if it doesn't actually have low pressure. Well, here's my oil sensor hookup. New sensor. We've got the old sensor, and then back at the back you'll see there's a plug, and that's so I can take that plug out and put a manual gauge on it if I need to. Pretty happy with how that turned out.
Time for a fun install now. We got a hold of a HydroPhase RideSteady unit. Our friend Michael installed one on his Malibu, and we got the chance to use it, and we've wanted one ever since. So they're a really cool unit. We've never installed one. They are kind of a universal product, and the way they build them, the company's actually based in Texas, which is cool, but the way they build them is adaptable to a lot of different boats. And they really want you to create content around your install, which is pretty cool because that's kind of our thing. So
yeah, they're doing a neat thing. They're building a database of if you have a boat. If you guys know boats very well, it's like they just put whatever engine and whatever control system that's available at the time. Like you could have one model boat and it's got a totally different engine than the same models. So it's kind of neat they're building this database up so that other people can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that'll work on my boat. And not to mention a new speedometer is $950 now it's quit working. And a speedometer on a ski boat's pretty important. So this was just not much of a step up, so we thought this is the way to go for us.
yeah, and with the RideSteady system, it's cruise control, essentially. Like, you hit it at the speed you want, and it stays there, and that is so nice for water sports. And our family loves doing that stuff. So we're really excited to install this, and I think we should go ahead and kick this off. Got a very comprehensive set of instructions there. If you ever have questions, you can find answers in there. But we sent photos and videos of our setup, where our throttle cable is and everything, and they gave us a green light on how we wanted to route stuff, so we're pretty excited to install this.
So here's that original speedometer that is out. Can you believe they want $950 for that thing? Just because it says Malibu. Pretty ridiculous. So I took that out earlier to see if this other one would fit, and it's pretty simple. If you have a boat like this, you've got a bolt here, then these two go down through it, and that's what holds it on. Pretty simple. This is like any other gauge. It's just got a little cage on the back that holds it in. exhaust man. So it's a 5-inch gauge on this boat. They also offered, I believe it was a 3.5 inch. And we'll slide this little cage on. And put our nuts back on it. On this boat, it's great because it's all pretty clean. So we can just push our wires down through that little hole and then we'll dress them on the bottom. There's that. So now our speed will show up on here. We'll have a pre-select of what we want the speed to be, and it'll do all the throttle for us. Of course, after we hook up the throttle motor, the wires, but you get the point.
All the things. And it's also GPS, so that makes the install easier too.
Yeah, and more accurate. Boat speedometers have a tendency to not work or not be accurate, so this one's going to be accurate. What we're looking at here is our throttle motor and control cable. What they're looking for is a gradual swoop in this. So you're wanting to mount it something like this, where it comes back and makes a U. The way that they have it in most of the pictures, which we'll show you, is on the exhaust. And they utilize these little tabs right here. They use the exhaust clamps to go through here and clamp this thing down. On ours, we're only going to be able to get one clamp in it. It's going to go right down here. And so on the back of it, right here, we'll just go get another clamp that's big enough for that, and we'll put a piece of rubber underneath it and tighten it down. So that's the perfect location for us. It's great because it's not in the way. And then on the other side over here, this is our throttle here. So this will come down and it'll come right up here to our little throttle body. Yep, so it'll come right there next to it. We will show you how all that goes together once we figure it out ourselves. We're working on this guy right here. That throttle control hooks to it. And they say this L bracket, you need to make sure that has looseness to it. Like you can't bolt that up solid or it'll be a problem. So we went to O'Reilly and I picked this up. We're going to use that to replace this little ball joint thing. I'm going to take this one off and put that new one we got on it. That should get us started moving in the right direction.
Looks good.
Just like it's supposed to be there.
We got some fresh hose clamp action to put around this exhaust manifold to make sure we have that throttle motor all secure. Okay, I've got my hose clamp around my manifold right down here. And I've also just cut a piece of hose to spread and go around the manifold so that it can sandwich the hose clamp and our unit. This hose clamp doesn't have a lot of adjustability left.
I'd have to put a new one on there.
Yeah, we got 3, so
yep.
we have that ability. I'm just noticing it's getting ready to run out.
It's good, just ditch it.
Okay, I've tightened that first one back up, rotated downward so the hose clamp is out of the way. Didn't need to replace it because it doesn't get the motor underneath it. So the second one down does, and it has plenty of adjustment, so that's pretty nice. I'm just loosening that guy up enough to rotate it around and get the throttle motor underneath it. That little zip tie showing right there, does that need to be there?
It does. It's going to be for the wire.
Okay, just making sure.
These fans are going to start getting mad at you for punching them.
They better watch out. They
Fans.
just better watch out.
I don't like the word fans. Our friends that like to watch our videos. That's a better word.
Well, I thought you were talking about fans on the motor.
Oh. Definitely wasn't talking about that.
It's usually what I punch. Knock the bark off my knuckles. I ain't never punched a person in my entire life. Most
Really?
people aren't going to be surprised. I've never been in a fight. I've never punched anybody.
That's good.
I have no experience with it. But I bet I could really do some damage if somebody just really got me riled up. Don't you think, Aaron?
Probably so. I mean, I have seen you pull a tatted guy out of his truck because he threw a cup in your yard.
That's different. I didn't hit him. I just grabbed him by the arm because he littered. Swung his door open. I said, get out and pick up your feet. He threw a cup in my yard and I was out watering my roses. He just littered right in front of me. He was embarrassed. So was his friend. His friend left him and he had to walk home.
True story.
Tattoos don't intimidate me. Okay, let me see here. We are getting there, y'all. Almost tight.
Looks pretty good to me. Pretty straight. I don't know if that matters, but it looks nicer.
I wanted to get it up more this way so we had more room to work at the back, but it's just right at the edge of that back hose clamp.
Yeah, that's fine. It's perfect.
Feels really good and secure, I think.
Nice.
Cool.
Good job.
You've done all the work today, babe. That's a little tiny piece that I just did. But, thank you. Well, it is 7 o'clock and it's time for dinner. And we will see y'all in the morning for more progress on this install.
So good morning. It's a new day. Emily's at the gym right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. She'll be back at about 9:30, and then I think Finley's got a vet visit or something. So she's going to be tied up this morning, but I'm going to go ahead and get some progress on this because once this is done, we got to take it out and lake test it, make sure everything's working. And then we need to go over and work on the OBS and then the kids' truck to get everything ready to go. And we also have to put a weight distribution hitch on the Bronco and the camper. So I'm going to start messing with the wiring. I don't know how good I'm going to be able to get the camera down there with lights and everything and show you guys what's going on. But to start, so this is for the tachometer. It's a gray wire. Fortunately, whenever they built this boat, they actually had a lead come down. That is the gray wire we need that runs off of the ECM. And so I'm going to plug straight into that. So that's very simple. And the main part of the wiring is here. We've got 12 volt switched. So that'll go back to our key cylinder. 12 volt constant, same thing. And they put these connectors on here where it's real easy. On the back of this key, I'll try to get you a picture or a video, but it's got the little screw in it. So we can just unscrew it and put these in after I test it. Then we have a ground. And I found our ground bus. Because boats are fiberglass, it's not like a car. You can't just ground to the frame or anything like that. There's going to be a big wire coming from the battery to a ground bus, which is basically just a brass bar that everything connects to. And so we're going to hook the ground to that. And then we have lights. So we just tee into one of our gauge that's already on there, and that'll light this thing up. The rest of the wiring, simple, pre-wired. So we got our little brain box here from RideSteady. So this will plug in there, and then this actually goes to our throttle motor. So easy. The hardest part's going to be routing it and stuff like that. And then we have our GPS. This whole system works on GPS. So this will plug in this box as well and then come up and sit on the dash right above the gauges. I don't know if we're going to have it there permanently. I don't really like the looks of it on the dash, but you know, at least for this trip that'll work until I figure out some other solution. So that's the plan this morning. Just get this wiring hooked up, and then when she gets back, if she gets back in time, we'll start messing with that throttle and getting all that stuff hooked up and getting it pretty. So I'm going to climb under there, try to take you guys with me on some of it, but it's dark under there, and we'll just see how it goes. So to try to make this easier, there's a bezel here that holds the key and all the switches on this side. So I'm going to take that bezel. Hopefully I can pull that back, and it'll be easier to show you guys where I hook this stuff up. And it'll be easier for me because I'm not laying on my back and reaching up in there. We'll see how that goes. So far I've been very impressed with this system. I haven't used it yet, obviously, but it seems to be very simple. And not only that, the customer service has been wonderful. They went through their database and they looked up a boat similar to this. That's how I found out about that wire that comes down that was pre-wired in. It's pretty common on ski boats to have some kind of cruise control. And so it was neat that Malibu thought about to bring that lead down for the tachometer. So I don't have to be guessing, because when you look behind there, there's a bunch of gray wires. By them bringing the lead down, I know exactly which one I need to be hooked into, in theory. We'll see how that actually works. Got my screws out. I'll just have to get it unstuck. I can get a screwdriver. It's not wanting to come out. This vinyl that's here, my experience when I took these gauges out, that stuff almost works like a glue. So when this stuff's been in there for 20 years or however old this boat is, it like glues the bezels and stuff in. So, and of course the plastic's brittle, so we don't want to break anything. Just trying to slowly get it out. I'll check back in with you guys once I get it loose. Yeah, so this was very difficult to pull out because this vinyl was just basically glued to it. I had to use a screwdriver in between there to like push it down and get it out of the way. What I was trying to do is get that ignition switch out, which is right here, so we can get to those screws real easy. So I'll get a tester now and I'll check and see what is constant power and what is switched, so we can get this thing hooked up there. Okay, so that's our constant 12 right there. So I'll take that screw out and hook that one wire up. So here's that gray wire I was talking about. This is pre-wired in on this year Malibu. That's what we're going to hook our tachometer into. So there's that gray wire I was talking about that's pre-wired into this year Malibu. That is going to hook into our tachometer. So we'll just put a spade connector on there and hook that up. We got our voltmeter here, and we're looking for 12 volts. That is 12 volt. This little lug over here, that's kind of standalone. You've got 3 right close together, and this one's all by itself over here. So that's going to be our constant 12. So we're going to hook that up right now. Our little wiring harness here, and constant 12 is a red wire, as I would expect it to be. We're going to hook that bad boy up, and it even has the right size lugs. That is so nice. I'll have to put new ends on it. Now we're looking for switched power. So again, we'll put our tester on here. I'm getting 0, key on, that's 12 volts. Back to 0, key on, 12 volts. So this one right here is going to be our switched. Okay, we're going to go to this one right here. On my boat, it's actually 2 purples with black lines. So we're going to hook our switched into that. Look at our little harness. The white wire is 12 volts switched. Okay, so you got 2 purple wires with black lines. That's where the white one goes on this boat. And over here, you have the main orange wire going in, and that's where the red one goes to. So our 12 volt is hooked up and our 12 volt switched is hooked up. That is a ground bus port. So I'm just gonna pick one of those wires, hook my little ground into it. So that's where we chose to put it. Right there. This is our new wire. And we are grounded, everything's tight. So we'll move on to the next thing. Here's our gray wire into the dash. Tachometer hooks up to that, so I'm just going to get a male spade connector, put it on our little tack wire and plug it in there. That should get us a tack going. Okay, now we're looking under the dash. When I flip this rocker switch, I can see that my light in the back comes on. So I've got my voltmeter over here. I'm going to test this little yellow wire. Up on the switch, we have 12 volts. Down on the switch, we have 12 volts. Okay, so I'm going to tee into this little yellow wire right here, because if I'm just running my front light or just running my back light, either one, this comes on. So I'm going to have lights to my little control unit on the cruise control. So they sent those little things where you just pinch into it and add a wire. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, this little yellow wire is the one I want to tee into. The wire is all hanging in my face. Okay, I'm happy with that. Take a little light wire, clip the end off of it. Take this up above the steering components. And then we'll just slide that guy in right there and we'll pinch it down. Okay, that's secure. Close our little cap. Now we should have lights. So everything going to the control unit is hooked up. We just got to put the rest of the throttle stuff together, and it'll be time to do a little test run. See if everything's firing up and working. Now I've got to plug that little box in, the control unit. And before I do anything, before I put the ignition switch back in or any of that stuff or put any of this back together, we're going to fire it up, make sure it's talking to each other and everything's happy. But for now, let's go on to that throttle. So what I'm working with is, this is the original throttle. And you can see I had to switch out for this style. This is the one that you just push it on there and then put a cotter pin through it, because they want that bracket freely moving. So we'll take the end off this, and that'll get us started in the direction of getting what they want on there. Where we left off yesterday, Emily got this mounted for us. That's the throttle motor. And we got to bring that cable around the air filter, which I know it's hard for you guys to see. Air filter right there. And then we got to hook into this stuff over here. See if we can make that part work. Let's see if we can get this original fitting off that goes on the throttle cable. And there it is. That's what we want it to look like. We can put that little, whatever they call it, the little bracket on there. So the new cable is going to hook to this, and then this cable is going to hook to the new cable. So what we'll do is now is we'll unhook this factory cable, if I can figure out how to do it. All right, there we go. And then our new one. So these are going to hook together with that little bracket they sent. You'll have to excuse the noise in the backyard. They're driving new poles into the lake for our dock. And they've got, it's really cool, it's a vibrator plate. They set on top of the pole and it just pushes it down on the ground. So when you hear that rattling, that's what it is. But we got to keep working. Oh no, that was a brand new nut finding its way to the bottom of the engine bay. So yes, the control cable goes to the throttle body. The original throttle cable connects to that with one of these guys. So this will go on here, and then this goes through that, like that, and this connects to the original throttle body. And there's lots of adjustments. They have very good instructions on how to make it adjusted and make sure everything's right. So I'm gonna work on that, see if I can get her figured out. So they want this adjusted down so there's no gap here. You don't want any threads sticking out. You just want it flush, best I can tell. Okay, so that's where it needs to be. And we have this guy, that goes there. That means this is where the L bracket goes. And we're not tightening anything just yet because we've got to adjust it all. Let me check and see which L bracket goes on our throttle body. They send two different ones. That fits and that fits. Let's try the other one. That does not fit. So we're going with the L bracket that has bigger holes in it. Here's our new bracket coming up. I'll get on the other side so you guys can see what I'm doing. It's gonna hook on there just like that. Grab my washer and my cotter pin and get that in place. It looks like it needs a little washer to be spaced a bit. We can adjust that later. Let's just get as much stuff hooked up as we can, then we'll start making adjustments. Right, so you can see right there, we're probably gonna put another washer in there, but that needs to be free floating, and it is. So now let's hook this back into the bracket on the bottom and figure out where we're gonna put that little guide. This is our factory bracket for the throttle cable. So we're gonna slide that back up in there. And then it's got this little thing that pushes over, and it's pretty stiff, so you gotta give it a good tug. And that's back installed. Now this other, the control cable, takes this little guide. It'll probably end up going this way. But I assume that guide is just gonna be with a tap screw or drill a hole in it and put a nut and bolt. I think it's gonna be right there. It may be further up in here, but I'm gonna read the instructions and find out for sure where that needs to be. It's looking pretty good so far. I'm happy with it. Say hi to yourself over there. That's you too. It says cable guide should be positioned so that the control cable is roughly parallel to the existing throttle cable. That's easy enough where I showed you back there, that's gonna work. The cable guide should be securely tightened enough that it will not move as the control cable passes through it. So yes, we're good there, but it does need to pass through it. It doesn't need to be clamped down. Okay, and the throttle cable should be parallel to the new cable. So we're good there. The boat's in neutral, so we're gonna make sure every lever is in a neutral position. Nothing's binding, nothing's pushing against it when it's in neutral. So we'll figure that out. Looks to me like adjusting this stuff is pretty simple. So I'll just tinker with it, get it where I think it needs to be, and then we'll bring you guys in and show you. Shout out to these guys. Their instructions are freaking incredible. And they did a good job, which is really hard to do when you're dealing with a boat that's got all kinds of different stuff. It's almost like an RV. It's like whoever showed up to work that Monday, that's the way that particular boat is. So yeah, good job guys. We're gonna keep working. I think we're gonna put a washer in here, space that out. One washer took care of her. So here's our cable, and they want this little cable guide so that this can slide in between it, in and out of it. And they want it parallel, so I think the best place for me is to attach it to the edge of that. That gets us, for the most part, parallel to that thing. So I'm gonna do that, and that should be one of our last little things until we start making adjustments. Nothing in behind there. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So this is our tack wire. I'm just gonna cut that end off of it and install this spade connector. So here's that wire that comes out of the ECM. So we are just going to tie into it right there and then plug this guy into the brain box here, RPM right there. So I went ahead and put this in here. I ran this wire that goes to the throttle. It's not ran through the boat yet. I've just got it laid up on here because I think it's time to power this up and see if it works. Let's see if anything happens on the dash. Oh, I like it.
It's alive.
Cool deal. We got our compass here. We have our preset at 20 miles an hour. We can adjust that. Whatever your rider likes. I'm probably like a 17 these days. So yeah, it's working. Now let's turn the lights on and see if it's the right one. Yep, goes into nighttime mode. Perfect.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Well, we don't know if any of it works, but it's in there. And it's doing power up things, so cool.
It's like really fluffy carpet in there. So when I press this up in there, it just wants to stay. It like gets snug up in there. So I'm feeling good about that. I'll be wanting to like glance at it when we're bouncing across waves. Wonder if that came out. I think it's pretty.
Bouncing across waves? You don't let me drive that fast.
Oh, I don't let you. That is like the furthest from any of the terminologies that we use. Emily lets Aaron do whatever Aaron wants to do.
Can I say whatever I want?
Aaron is considerate because he knows Emily doesn't love when it's super rough and he's like wide open throttle. It's like over the water. I don't love that. So if he looks over at me and I'm like, ugh, then he slows it down. But Emily doesn't ever say, Aaron, stop. She just holds on and waits for the temporary discomfort to end.
Like I said, she won't let me go that fast.
It reaches. Sweet. So now that we just have buttoning up to do with our wiring, our yard guys just got here and it's really loud and grassy, and we decided we're gonna run over to the shop and get started on the OBS work that we need to do. So that'll be another episode, but we're gonna wrap this wiring and take it for a test drive, ski, wake skate, something, first thing in the morning. So
yeah, they recommended that we test it on very calm water just to make sure everything's working right. So that's gonna be first thing in the morning. So we'll see you then.
we're back in the boat.
That's right.
And it is the 4th of July. It's a little after 7. Yeah, actually 45 minutes after 7. It's closer to 8. Our intent was to get up early, but somebody doesn't like to get up early, so. Anyway, we are out here and we're getting ready to button up this wiring. In fact, he's already been underneath here. He likes to just get to work, but like the work part of like talking to you guys with the mics and all the gear, he's like, I'm just gonna get to work. So I came out here with all the gear. And so now we're getting ready to check in with his status because he's been working already. And we're gonna be getting this buttoned up and then hitting the water. It's gonna be awesome.
So what I've been doing this morning is just kind of going over my checklist and making sure everything's good under the dash. Basically, I had wires going everywhere. So I cleaned that up, put some zip ties on it, kind of got it in an area where it's not gonna fall down. And then my control box I put over in this corner, and I've not screwed it to anything. I just put a couple zip ties on it. And the reason I did that is because I'm not 100% sure that's where I want it permanently. Seems to be a good place. If it is, in the future, what I'll do is probably build a bracket so we don't have any screws exposed or anything like that. But for now, I think it's in a really good place, and we'll just see how we like it. Next thing was the GPS. We hadn't addressed that. And it looks to me like a lot of people come out of this bezel with it and go right up here, and I wasn't happy with that. So it says here, determine a suitable location for mounting the GPS receiver that will allow an unobstructed view of the sky and allow the cable to reach where the CPU is. So up here, I've got a pretty good unobstructed view. It's right by the windshield. It says it'll pass through glass just fine. And versus having it up here where I don't really care for, I'm gonna put her right back here. And it came with a two-sided piece of tape where it'll stick to the dash. And then my wiring.
FYI, that is the top just flopped forward, so it's not gonna stay like that.
Yeah, that doesn't stay there. That just has to go down to get it in the carport. So the wiring, it looks to me, I've gone through this little area here and I've connected it to the CPU, and I've zip tied the wires up out of the way, so not gonna be a problem. But you can see here how it lays in this channel there. I think with a screwdriver, if I just very gently push on that, it'll actually disappear. And that should happen on all these corners all the way around here. Because this stuff, it's real soft. It's got like a cushion between it and then vinyl on top. So I think that will serve as a good hold for that. And then we'll just put the two-sided tape on the GPS receiver itself. So that's my plan, and it'll look clean and nice.
I love that plan.
That's what we're gonna do. If I can find a flathead screwdriver.
I'll get you one.
All right, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Probably put some tape on that screwdriver if you wanted to be super careful.
All right, y'all. He stuck it down. It is on the dash now. And we're checking it off the list. Also, this will be fun. That's awesome. All right, ready for me to operate the throttle?
Yep.
Okay. That's wide open.
Okay. That's wide open throttle?
Yes, sir.
All right, let off of it.
Let off.
Let me see.
That's neutral, sorry. I just put it there.
Might change things a lot. All right, so what's happening is whenever we hooked up the flat bracket that connects the two, it moved our original throttle bracket down about ½ an inch. It was bolted on the side like that. But as you can see where it connects here, that's off. That may be more like an inch or inch and a half. So we're in neutral right now, and this is where it wants to be. If I push up, that's making that flat bar kick sideways. So I'm just kind of getting it down where it's about in a neutral place. Then if I put this back on, I'll be able to mount it like that right there. So I've got those two holes marked. So we're gonna pop some holes in it, reinstall this, and hopefully that'll work for us.
All right, y'all, Aaron is happy with where he has it, right?
Absolutely, I got the linkages where I want them. It's all like the book says, so we'll just go out and see how it works. I think it's gonna do pretty good.
We're excited. Okay, we're gonna launch the boat and we'll see y'all when we're on the water. All right, we made it to the water, and somehow we're still married. Every time we launch the boat, you know, it can be a little bit stressful, but we've been doing it for like over 20 years now, so.
We're pretty good at it.
We're fairly practiced.
Yeah.
But our lake is actually kind of windy today, but we have one specific cove that people go to ski that the water is less choppy, so it's pretty good. There's a little bit of movement to it, but not bad. It's gonna be good for us to test this unit. And Aaron was tinkering with it when we were on our way here, so he has a pretty good idea of how it works.
I have a basic understanding of how to make it function.
Yeah, it seems pretty simple, so we like that. It's time to set it. What speed are you gonna set it at first?
First speed, I think I'm gonna set at 17, because that's about what I ride on a wakeboard. So we'll see how it captures that and how it maintains it. And then we'll do a turn and see what it does in a turn.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
We're gonna dial our speed up here to 17 and then hit this button. See it says off there. Now we got GPS. So I'm gonna spin the boat around so we're going back into the cove, and then we'll just give her full throttle and see what happens. Pretty fun. This is something I've wanted to do for however long we've owned the boat, which has been probably coming up on 10 years, I would guess. Okay, straighten her out. There she goes, full throttle. I would expect that. It's using that power to pull up, and then it's going to backtrack to your speed. That's a lot better than I could do. All right, let's give her a turn as if we were pulling a wakeboarder. I'm going to turn out a little bit. We'll cut back through our wake here in a minute. See here, we got our RPM on there. So we're gonna dial this up to 28, because when we're pulling slalom, that's what the girls we pull like to pull at. So we'll give her a shot at 28. I'm already so impressed with this thing. Okay, 28 miles per hour. It says GPS, that means it's activated. So we're gonna go straight ahead. We may get into choppy water because we're trying to keep the sun off the gauges as much. But let's give it a try. We're just gonna full throttle it, and all I'm gonna do is steer. All right, turn.
Sorry, I did a horrible job filming that. I was trying to.
Well, it's choppy, and 28 miles per hour is actually pretty fast.
Oh my God.
What I was looking for is, did it achieve 28 miles per hour? It goes over a little bit, which I would expect it to, because it's pulling somebody off the water and it's trying to settle into itself. It did do that. It got to 28, settled there. When I went in the turn, it automatically throttled, because when you're pulling a skier, you've got to use more throttle in the turn. Otherwise, they'll get on the inside of the wake and they'll fall down. So it did everything I wanted it to do. We'll go back to the inside of the cove and do one more pull where it's not so choppy. And maybe Emily's not like falling out of her seat.
I was really, it was like a rodeo.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ronin is great, but it was struggling too, because it was trying to balance it,
So
and then we're like hauling across a 28, that's almost 30. And then you rip the steering wheel, you're like, turn. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. One thing that you don't see at a lot of lakes, this lake it's a mud bottom, dirt. And it's also residential. So there are houses all along every perimeter of the lake, and they all have seawalls. So on a weekend like this, when there's a lot of boats out, the wake they create hits the seawall and bounces back to the middle. So you can have no wind and it's still gonna be rough out here if there's a bunch of boaters. That's why Emily and I like to go out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Weekends, we leave it for people visiting.
Okay. I would love to see if I can keep the camera on the gauge.
So that last pull, sorry guys, it wasn't really for the camera, it was for my knowledge, and I'm happy. This one, we're gonna turn it down so that we can try to keep the camera on this. We'll just put her at 15. Now I fully expect this to go over 15 and then settle back into it, just like I would if I were manually driving it. So, power going in.
Yeah, that's exactly how you would pull up a skier or a wakeboarder.
Yeah, they accounted for all that. So now we'll try to do a gentle turn so that you guys can see how it adds power so that your skier doesn't sink into the water. So here we go. Now power's coming in, maintain that speed. You can see it on the RPM gauge. Now when I straighten out, it should drop that RPM some and settle back into 15. Crossing our own wake. And then if I get the signal from the rider that we need to bump up a little bit, I just turn my dial. Now we're at 15.4. They want to go a little bit faster, pick them up to 16, it does it by itself. They want to go down, too fast for them, we'll dial it down some.
That's so cool.
And if we want to turn it off, just hit that. And then the boat's going to go back to whatever RPM you have it set at. So to explain that situation when you're in a corner, in aviation we call it the backside of the power curve. It takes more and more power to maintain the same speed, or in aviation to go slower and slower. So it requires more power because you're putting more drag on the boat. And so I love that it throttles itself in. Okay, I'm extremely happy with that. I think it's time to go back, put the screws in the dash so nothing falls out. And this one's ready for the trip to Ouachita.
Well, we hope y'all enjoyed this episode working on this boat. These last few episodes have been just kind of like what we need to get done around the shop and around the house, because we're leaving on this family camping trip and we had a bunch of stuff on our list, and y'all seem to enjoy just doing whatever we're doing. So we're grateful for y'all for that. You got anything to say, handsome?
Well, just that this cruise control is really freaking cool.
It is.
I like it a lot. We bought the boat like 10 years ago, and we do a little bit to it each year. We don't ever spend a tremendous amount of money on it.
Well, the interior.
Well, the interior, but that was built up years and years of decay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just great. The system works perfectly. I'm getting more and more comfortable with letting other people use my boat. And like she mentioned earlier, I don't like getting up first thing in the morning, and that's the best time to ski. So this edition, it's great because I can tell someone how to use it. They don't have to work super hard. They can come out, pull somebody skiing, and have a really good pass every time. So I'm excited about it.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll do some content on our family camping trip and also our trip to Iola, Wisconsin for the Iola Car Show. This will be our 4th year, I think, doing that event, and it's such an awesome event. Derek, our buddy from Vice Grip Garage, he and Jessica are going to be there again and going even bigger this year. So we hope to see a bunch of y'all there. The camera
you guys about fell
is creeping me out. We love y'all so much, and we will see you on the next episode.